Board meeting of Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Begin this evening with a Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, I would ask our town clerk to please call the roll.
Supervisor Copa.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin.
Present.
Councilmember Berger.
Here.
Councilmember Zuccalla.
Here.
And Councilmember Marinucci.
Here.
All right, the first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from Monday, May 13th, 2024. A motion to adopt those as they appeared.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution 464, stop sign relocation along Gettsville Road. It's a public hearing. I want a motion to open that public hearing at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chris, take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor and members of the Town Board. My name is Chris Schregel with the Town of Amherst Engineering Department. I also act as the Traffic Safety Coordinator. Tonight's first public hearing is in reference to a stop sign relocation proposition along Gettsville Road. It's broken up into two parts. First part being the southbound stop, that northern intersection of Woodbury and Gettsville. That stop sign be removed and relocated to the Greenbrier intersection. And part two, similarly, northbound stop at the intersection of Meadow Stream and Gettsville be removed and relocated to the intersection of Woodbury and Gettsville. So this was brought forward to the Traffic Safety Board by Gettsville residents. It was reviewed over the last 8 months during the October 2023 meeting, as well as the April 2024 meeting. Gettsville Road is located in Snyder. It runs from Main Street to just past Sheridan, and it is a collector roadway. The resident concerns and requests that were brought forward, 3 residents appeared, and they brought up speeding along Gettsville. They brought up lack of appropriate pedestrian infrastructure for those crossing at intersections nearby, safety of area children, proximity to the Damon University and high school, Amherst High School that is, high traffic volume, similar to number 2, lack of ADA accommodations for those pedestrians, and they also pointed out that existing stop signs are difficult to see due to the roadway geometry and tree limbs. Tree limbs, to my knowledge, have been trimmed up since that meeting. As the Traffic Safety Board normally does, they look at the traffic control devices in the area. This map on the screen is indicating where those stop signs are located. They also looked into the history of those stop signs, and it was discovered that they were installed on Gettsville Road in 1987 as a way to deter speeding. As members of this board know, that typically stop signs are not used per the manual to deter speeds. They're used to control right-of-way within the intersection. And soon after people were not stopping at those stop signs, the town went out and oversized those stop signs to try to make them more clear to drivers and emphasize that stopping control device. If you strip away the stop signs on the minor roads or the minor approaches, you see the stop signs that are recommended for change, as indicated on the screen. These intersections of Woodbury and Greenbrier, as well as Woodbury and Meadow Stream, are not the way you'd want to ever design a roadway network today, being just slightly offset. It makes for a confusing scenario for drivers as well as pedestrians. And you can kind of tell the way this is signed, it was to deter speed and not really to control who has the right of way within the intersection. Traffic Board also looked at crash history between 2018 and 2024. There were 4 vehicular crashes and 1 cyclist crash in this area. They were related to rear ends, failure to yield at stop signs, icy conditions, and drunk driving. The bicycle collision was related to a cyclist making the corner. He was a teenager, lost control, and ran into a vehicle that was slowing down at that stop sign. They also looked at traffic counts. They had 2 on record. One was before COVID. Gettsville came in at 4,000 vehicles per day. There was another one collected during the height of COVID, September 2020. It dropped all the way down to 2,000 vehicles per day. We don't have any current counts, but I would venture to guess that it's closer to that 4,000, maybe exceeding 4,000 today. The speed itself ranged from 25 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour, 85th percentile speed, depending on the year or direction of travel. So how do you sign a T intersection? So normally on a local and a collector, you normally sign the bottom leg of the T as indicated here, or in instances where there's high volume, you make an all-way stop, like when an arterial meets an arterial or a high collector meets a high collector. What you have at Gettsville and Woodbury is a stop only in one direction and a stop on the minor approach. Makes it difficult to navigate as a driver, and particularly makes it challenging for a pedestrian to cross there. You really have to be paying attention to know which vehicles are stopping. As such, the Traffic Safety Board is recommending, this is part one of that resolution, you take the Woodbury sign in the southbound direction only, and you move it to the Greenbrier intersection, making that a true all-way stop. The Traffic Safety Board did debate whether or not to recommend a full removal of stop signs on Gettsville. They did not think they were going to be successful in that endeavor, so that they are recommending making an all-way stop and not trying to seek for a removal of the stop sign. This will allow you to have a safe pedestrian crossing should the town want to move forward with a crosswalk and ADA ramps at that southern portion of that intersection. Part two is very similar. Excuse me. In this instance, the existing stop sign, you move the northbound stop sign to the northbound approach at Woodbury and Gettsville, therefore making that Woodbury-Gettsville an all-way stop, making that more clear for pedestrians and drivers in that area. This is the overall image of the proposal. This was shown at the Traffic Safety Board. Again, very quickly, move that stop sign to the south, move this stop sign to the north. With that, I'm going to open up for questions and comments. Before we get into that, you may be asking how the Traffic Safety Board came to this conclusion. They looked at existing ADA ramps, as well as they wanted to give the Meadow Stream neighborhood the ability to to pull out in an all-way stop intersection, as well as allowing the Woodbury side the ability to cross at an all-way stop intersection. With that, I'll turn it over to the board.
If I may.
Go ahead, Mike.
Hi. Thank you, Chris. Just one quick question. I understand that the neighborhood was very influential in putting these signs in, but I also know, as having been to a Traffic Safety Board meeting, that generally there's a minimum traffic activity before something would be recommended. I know some of your traffic numbers are old, but I'll still ask, did we meet that minimum threshold?
No, they did not run a warrant analysis on the minor approaches. They did not collect the counts on Woodbury or Greenbrier. I think they suspect that it would be shy of those all-way warrant analysis warrant criteria, but no, they didn't do the full analysis.
Thank you.
So the one interesting component to this, I think, is the idea that we could actually add a striped crosswalk to the mix. That can only happen in the part one, not in the part two?
It could happen in part two. They were reluctant in doing so because they just, they pushed for it's off the screen here, but they pushed for a mid-block crossing just south of, I believe that's Hedstrom?
Mid-block without a stop sign though, right? It'd be
No,
like a yellow
I'm
flag
sorry, it's a
beacon.
mid-block crosswalk.
A mid-block crosswalk
Yeah.
with like a flashing beacon?
No, it's just, it's an uncontrolled, unflashing beacon, and that's directly across from the current location of Musical Fair, the Damon University campus. But could it lend itself to, a crosswalk in that location? Absolutely.
Okay.
Then if I might just add one point then. So we're putting these stop signs in its essence, to control speed.
No.
No, they're not.
indications that they were initially installed to control speed on that roadway. Now what they're trying to do is better control vehicular movements as well as pedestrian crossings in those areas. As the way they are now, it's confusing to motorists as well as those pedestrians on who stops, which way are they stopping, who yields the right of way, with only one direction being stopped. Very not typical situation you have here.
Chris, do you have suspected counts because you have your pre-COVID counts?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have speed? Did I miss that?
Speed was all over the place. Really not. I mean, it was
It's a
up to
30
40 miles per hour in one of the directions, yeah.
And that's with the stop signs.
Yes.
Okay.
But Chris, if you can go back to that other picture.
This one?
See, yeah, and then if you go to the next one, it looks like they were trying to do fake four-way stops with that in between, which is why it kind of doesn't make sense. So what we're doing is trying to make what is already there conducive. Is that the recommendation of the Amherst?
Yes, correct. They considered this whole thing kind of one
But that's when we
intersection,
talk about the road being wrong.
but it's really not, there's too much separation to consider it one intersection. You might be able to get away with that if the road is slightly offset.
But the original iteration looks like that's what they were trying to do by putting the stop signs in those directions. So by moving them, we're trying to make an actual four-way.
Correct.
Understood.
Okay. I guess the first, my last question would be, were there neighbors at that traffic and safety meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, mind you, they did not approach the board looking for stop sign relocations.
Got it.
They brought forward their concerns of pedestrian safety and speeding and high volume. Since there were already control devices put up to try to slow down vehicles, the board thought it'd be an opportune time to try to clear up and enhance the pedestrian crossing portions of those intersections.
All right. Well, let's open it up. I assume that there's some people here who want to speak about this tonight. Are there in fact some people here about that subject? We'll invite, what's that? Yeah, please, if you have questions or comments, I'm going to ask you to please approach. Just state your name and address for the record when you get to the microphone. You pull the microphone towards you, please.
Okay, hello. I'm Barbara Bozak Oswald. I live at 295 Gettsville Road, and I'm on a corner house which has a stop sign there right now. And I'm wondering, has there ever been according to this proposal, where there will be a stop sign, one stop sign, a new one, put in the middle of a block? It's not going to be on a corner of a block, but in the middle of a block. Do we ever have that in the whole United States? And how have safety studies worked with that? So I have a couple of questions in relating to the whole thing, and maybe if I say both of them, then it might be easier to answer it all. So if you have people that disregard the stop signs now, and there's many, because just eating breakfast and watching a meal, and in our kitchen window we see cars cruising slower through it, or just ignoring it totally and speeding through it, and a minority of people do stop. And sometimes there has been, on occasion, a policeman that might go after someone that ran the stop sign. If a person disregards the stop signs now, what's to say they're not going to disregard the stop sign that's placed in the middle of a block? And it doesn't quite make sense to me, especially if you're only going to have 3 by one street and only 1 by another street, and do that in 2 different places. I think it would bring more confusion to many people and not make any difference as far as accidents. Accidents will just be in a different spot. That's my first thinking on it, and that's my question.
Okay. Chris, can you come back up, please? So, Chris, this is, I mean, the stop sign isn't at an intersection anymore, right? You're putting it in front of a driveway.
Yeah, so if you're looking at this one specifically, it's not mid-block, it's still part of the intersection. The book allows you to sign a stop sign within 50 feet of the edge of pavement. So is it a proper location still? Yes. This is how you would sign a T intersection as an all-way stop. Will this new configuration yield a higher percentage of stop sign compliance? No, I can't say that for certain. If you have people blowing through an unwarranted stop sign now, it'll probably continue. Now, is that a reason to not move forward with this? No, I think you're going to have that regardless whenever an unwarranted stop sign is located somewhere.
Okay. Are there more audience questions? Please come forward.
One other, I mean, perhaps there's a different kind of a solution. Instead of changing stop signs, maybe changing the speed limit or
So we're gonna get,
placing.
yeah, we're gonna get to some of those questions at the, okay, but yeah, thanks. Again, just please state your name and address for record.
My name is Lee Kiefer. I live at 201 Gettsville Road. And my concern is that, as the lady stated earlier, I really don't think that moving stop signs, regardless of the purpose of stop signs, is going to make that much difference, because Gettsville Road, unfortunately, is a direct access between Sheridan and Main Street. They are going to continue to use the stop signs as suggestions, and there will be only a minority of people that will stop where they're supposed to. I wondered about even putting, the lines for crosswalks or something to just remind people of what a stop sign is supposed to be. No, it doesn't control traffic. I'm not part of a traffic board or anything like that. But having lived on that road for 47 years, I have seen very little improvement, especially during high traffic times. So I really don't have a suggestion, except that I don't really think this is going to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Go. Okay. Chris, can you come back up for a minute?
Sorry, Chris.
So, aside from the stop sign, I'm guessing you're going to tell me no. Was there consideration of a speed table at Greenbrier and Gettsville?
No.
So I think that something along those lines, right, might have a little bit more impact on how people approach that stop sign. I know there's a driveway, so you'd have to deal with that. Can you show the other option?
Like this, part two?
Yeah, same question, I guess, right? I mean, if you're gonna do something, do you create a speed table so that somebody looks at it and says, I've got to basically slow down almost to a stop to get over the speed table anyways, right? And does that have maybe more of a desired impact on overall traffic flow in that area?
Yeah, anytime you add a speed table to a crossing, people are going to, typically slow down more than they would for just a sign. I think there are some challenges, like you said, with the driveway, and we'd have to look at drainage. The highway superintendent would obviously have to be on board I know he's has not been a proponent for speed humps. Speed tables might be a different scenario. We'd have to talk to him about that. But if it's, I wouldn't want to add a crossing in this type of configuration. It would have to be with a stop-controlled, scenario.
And then the next question, how are residents in that area notified that we're considering this, or have they been? Okay. I guess from my comment and from the board, I certainly feel that the part one option has a lot of merit, especially with the crosswalk. But I do think that you'd have to do that in pairing with some other modifications to the street. And I mean, right now it's a stripe divided, right? So you have a decent amount of road width. You've got, is there parking along Gettsville? No.
Not in that section. I believe closer to Damon.
And that's only in 4,000 vehicles a day. There's no parking, so it's an intended. We're inducing the vehicle speeds that we would see there, right? Because it doesn't strike me as 4,000 vehicles a day on that particular road or that many vehicles that you wouldn't have one-sided parking or something, some other calming measure.
Yeah, at 4,000 vehicles per day, that's on the higher side. But yeah, you do see those numbers for collectors, and you do see that for double yellow center striping. In a situation where you have double yellow striping, you normally don't have one-sided parking, because then people start going over that double yellow. So must have been a clear decision to keep this clear and allow for vehicles to move north-south.
Chris, I have a question for you. Traffic Safety Board considered a variety of options, or at least they usually do. And this is what they settled on, that they thought would be most effective?
Yes, they debated on which intersections to sign, but being that it was already stop controlled, they didn't. They really just concentrated on where the best control device locations would be. So beyond that, I don't believe traffic calming was discussed at the board meetings. No.
Okay, and what I'm leaning towards agreeing with Traffic Safety Board, and if there continues to be concerns or there are new concerns, it can go back and be reviewed. We're not doing anything extensive. We're moving some stop signs.
Yeah, we would mark new traffic pattern ahead in all directions. Could you reverse course and put it back the way it was in the future? Yeah, you could do that.
Okay. There's another speaker. I'm going to ask him. Please come up.
Matt Plunkett, North Hill Drive. Just sitting here thinking about it. Some years back, before the stop signs were there was a flashing red light at some point along Gettsville Road that was there to control traffic. Did anybody give any thought to whether there should be some opportunity to use something like that to control, people running? I don't know whether people stop more for flashing reds than they do for stop signs and that sort of thing, but I don't know whether the Traffic Safety Board considered that sort of thing.
Chris, I don't know if you want to, it doesn't sound like outside
Well, there's other people
Okay.
waiting. Maybe he should wait.
There's a whole chapter in the book related to conspicuity of signage, and you normally take an incremental approach. So the first step was to oversize it. Could you ever get to a flashing light scenario? Sure, but that would be the very last thing you'd want to do. You'd want to add striping. You'd want to, do double posting. You'd want to do red reflective tape. There's different iterations. Normally, they don't recommend going right to the last one, which is the flashing light.
Okay. So, more speakers about the stop sign? Please come up, state your name and address for record.
My name is Fred Tarantino. I live at the northwest corner of Gettsville Road and Greenbrier. I'm directly across the street from where you want to relocate the sign from Woodbury. I have big picture windows in my living room. I sit there all the time, and I've seen numerous accidents occur at Woodbury and Gettsville Road. Usually the people come out of Woodbury and the car hits them coming from Gettsville Road, not stopping for the stop sign. Bicycles never stop for those signs, by the way. Anyway, in the 30 years that I have lived there, I have never seen an accident on Greenbrier and Gettsville Road, never, in 30 years. But I've seen numerous accidents
It would be.
there with Woodbury at that intersection. So contrary to the Traffic Safety Committee, I'm there every day and I see this. I don't go by there once a month or anything like that. I don't have to rely on statistics. I see it. I'm right there. I have my breakfast right in front
Would you
of
like
the
to?
windows, and I see Woodbury, and half the cars don't stop. Now, if you remove that stop sign there, you're going to have more accidents. Moving it to Greenbrier is not going to solve any problems on Woodbury. And I don't know why you want to solve some problem that does not exist on Greenbrier. There's no problem there. I've never seen an accident there in 30 years. So I would urge that you leave the signs right where they are, especially that one. The one on Meadow Stream, I don't live down there. But my feeling is that I don't know if the Traffic Safety Committee is relying on statistics that they get out of a book, or I don't know where they get their information from, but I see it every day. I'm there every day. I'm retired. I'm retired from the state of New York, Department of Transportation, so I'm not just blowing in the wind here, okay? So I would urge to leave it alone. One more issue I have, not to do with the stop signs, but on Greenbrier, the curb on the north side of Greenbrier is destroyed every winter by the snowplow truck. Now, not everybody is capable of doing every job proficiently, and every year I've telephoned the highway department saying, you're destroying the curb. And this past year, they replaced quite a bit of it, but there's new breakage there, and you say, well, you don't have to hire it out. The town does it with the town money. That's taxpayer money. And I would like to, again, recommend, as I have every single year, that if that truck driver that operates the snowplow is not capable of not destroying the curb, that he or she be replaced with someone that can take better care of the curb and not destroy it every year. It's an expense either to the town, if they do it themselves, in time and money, or if you hire it done, it costs even more. So I would urge that something be done about whoever's driving that snowplow on Greenbrier. Also, they also have had the habit, and every year I've complained, of coming around, making a right-hand turn from Greenbrier into Gettsville and stopping with a full load of snow on their plow right in front of my driveway, so I can't get out or get in or anything else. I've had several strokes. I should not have to go out there and shovel snow that's put there by the town. If God puts it there, that's a different story, but not if the town does it. Okay. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Carol Janicki, and I live at 163 Meadow Stream Drive. Meadow Stream Drive runs parallel to Gettsville Road, so the only exit out of our street is going down Greenbrier or remainder of Meadow Stream Drive to Gettsville Road. I just wanted to know how homeowners were notified. Which homeowners and in what area? Was it just individuals on Gettsville Road, or were other individuals notified? Because we didn't get any kind of notification. And I only found out through one of my neighbors, and I checked with a couple other neighbors in our block, and they didn't get notified either.
So I asked that same question. I don't know
I
that.
did hear you that.
Is the question specific to this public hearing or for the traffic safety?
For the area that they're changing, the stop signs on Gettsville Road.
For this meeting or for this meeting right now?
Yeah.
So I don't.
Both, I think, is what they're she's asking.
So I don't think I don't know this, but that's what my question was basically is how do we notify people in that area? Because it doesn't seem like there's that many people here.
So there is no notification specific to the Traffic Safety Board for this item for stop sign relocation. They do, before taking any type of parking restriction recommendations or discussion, invite everyone who's impacted. They rely on public notification specific to the public hearing tonight, which, Tim, what is it, how many, 600 feet? Or
600.
600 feet. So the notification would come in the form of the public hearing notification and have the opportunity for them to learn about it and speak at this location, but no, not at the Traffic Safety Board, because honestly, that was, I don't believe the Traffic Safety Board knew that they were going in that direction until the discussion, developed.
All right. So I have so direct mail within 600 feet about the public hearing tonight was the answer.
I'm sorry?
Direct mail for people who live within 600 feet of the proposed change.
Okay, all right. Okay, I have a comment too. The other individual that just spoke before me, I can appreciate where you live and you see everything that goes on, but about 2 months ago, my husband was coming from Sheridan Drive down Gettsville Road, and the stop sign at Greenbrier and Gettsville Road, the individual didn't stop for the stop sign, and he proceeded to make the left-hand turn and did quite a bit of damage to our vehicle. It was a brand-new car. But that area is bad because there's a stop sign at Woodbury, and then you travel a certain amount of distance, and people that aren't familiar with that road don't know that you don't have a stop sign, and they may stop, but then they continue on, and you're making the turn. Myself, I just stop there because I see cars, whenever I'm there, they make the turn, they go straight and they don't continue on. So it is a bad area, and anything that, the Department of Transportation can do to make that area safer would be much appreciated. And I have talked to some of the neighbors too, and they just say it's an accident waiting to happen.
Okay.
And there's a lot of neighbors that have, there's Colony Court, North Colony Court, Meadow Stream Drive, that have to access Greenbrier to get to Gettsville Road.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Joe Stolteri, 23 Reinwald. I can't believe that you're talking about this tonight because I just was walking through. I had to drop something off at the assessor's office. These stop signs should have never gone up in the first place. I grew up on Brantwood, lived there since the late 60s. We just recently sold our family house. I know every inch of that neighborhood. And maybe about 35 years ago, a motorcyclist late at night came screaming down Gettsville from Main Street, lost control at the bend down on campus, and that's what started it. And they were trying to control the traffic. So the neighbors obviously had a lot of input, and there was a stop sign on campus. My late aunt, who was in the convent at Rosary Hill, she didn't get her license until she was about 50 years old. She got one ticket in her life. It was on campus there at that stop sign. And right after she got the ticket, they took the stop sign away. And then they put the stop signs over there. It was on the front page of the Amherst Bee right after those stop signs were put up. The Amherst police said that those signs are illegal. Because if somebody runs a stop sign and then another car turns left, who's at fault? It's almost impossible to determine fault, the person who ran the stop sign or the person who made the turn in front. So you can't put stop signs up to control speed. The only thing to control that is to do speed enforcement. Those signs should really come down. So I just happened to hear it when I was walking through the hallway. I couldn't believe it because those signs have been a problem for at least 20-some years.
He did say. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
yeah. So what is the proposal? I don't even know what it is. I just,
There's a proposal to modify the configuration of stop signs to remove stop signs on Gettsville at either Meadow Stream or Greenbrier and use them as a four-way stop in one location so that you still have the pedestrian movement control, but my understanding is that the goal is basically not to have the Gettsville stopped as frequently as it is.
I mean, it's a well-known fact that most accidents happen at an intersection. So you're better off to keep the traffic flowing just at a reduced speed, obviously.
So-
How are you going to do that? I guess speed bumps?
Well, so traffic and safety came to us with this, this proposal, so the board's taking comments now and trying to figure out where we want to go moving forward.
If somebody could find that article that was on the front page of the Amherst Bee, quoting the Amherst Police when they said those signs should have never gone up, they're illegal and they're creating more of a problem for us than they're doing good.
About what year did that
It's
happen?
got to be at least 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually Googled it a couple times to see if I could find it, but it was, yeah, it was on the front page of the Amherst Bee.
Okay, all right, thank you. What? What? Yeah, well,
Again, I'm Barbara Bozak Oswald, 295 Gettsville Road, and I thought of a suggestion, but I agree with this man here. I read that New York State even said that that stop signs do not prevent people from speeding, and we know that. So that why are they there? But if you're going to keep any, I was thinking maybe extra stop signs. Keep the ones you have, put the one you want on, so that every single street, if you're coming down from one way, you're going to have to stop 4 times.
okay.
That one way up north more, and then down where we are in Gettsville Road and Woodbury, because there'd be 2 stop signs going in one direction by Gettsville, by Woodbury and Greenbrier. There'd be 2 stops in one direction, and then 2 more back by Main Street. And so that's stopping 4 times. And if somebody says, gee, I'm gonna have to stop 4 times going one way, that might either discourage them from going on the road or from speeding.
Okay.
And you can't always tell what a person's thinking is as to why they're speeding. Or maybe you could put a sign saying children's area. I've seen blind people's area, children's area, handicap, be careful of the crossers, you know, or crosswalk signs ahead of time, and put those strips for people to cross, and a couple of, don't go shorter to be convenient for the drivers, make it harder for them.
Okay,
And then give them a couple of tickets
thank you,
for each row.
thank you. Come on forward.
Bob Dirtle, 92 Chateau Terrace. Friend texted me this. For the current public hearing, I was at the Traffic Safety Board, and we talked about narrowing the road or adding a speed bump, which was disregarded. The Traffic Safety Board is asking for a stop sign rather than address the problem, which is speed and pedestrian safety. The original problem was speed, and specifically a disabled person with a wheelchair not being able to cross the road. The road is too wide, no speed bumps. I mean, an ongoing story with people coming up here is the lack of enforcement of the traffic laws. You know, nobody stops for stop signs. Nobody's, you know, the speed limits are a thing of the past.
So,
I mean, it's something needs to be done all over the town, not just here. But I mean, you need to start, if speed bumps are the way to go, the easiest way to do it, then we have to start doing that, whether the highway department likes to plow over them or not. I mean, if you're not gonna have the police out enforcing the rules, you gotta do something else.
okay.
You know, and then there's the thing, well, I mean, when I was a kid, you didn't want to get a ticket because you got points on your license. You got too many points, you lost your license, and your insurance went up. Now, you get a ticket, you go to court, they get it knocked down to a parking ticket with no points, no record of it. I mean, I don't think insurance companies find out about it. So there's no, you know, reinforcement of the traffic laws that way. I mean, I realize the town makes a load of money off it, but, you know, I mean, it's.
So I kind of, if are you all set? Okay, I agree with kind of with that point right now, which is, look, there's, I agree with traffic and safety if there's an issue here, right? Specific to crossing, specific to speed. It's not unlike it's not unlike other cut-through streets that we have, right, from Maine to Sheridan, or Sheridan to Maple. And I think that they're onto something in terms of reconfiguring the intersections, but I think that something else has to give with respect to the road's dimensions, the width, the geometry, whether it's a speed table, which is an enlarged intersection up, not just a speed hump, or something else. My inclination is to say I'd motion to close the public hearing, send it back to traffic and safety for considerations about how to fully address the road, understanding that they probably are gonna, you know, need some time to figure that out, with the idea that we would want to see crosswalks, we want to see it controlled speed, and ask the police to step up enforcement on the street as current. That's a motion. Okay. I don't know if that's something we want to, anything on the question? All in favor? Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is a rezoning application. It's a public hearing on North Bailey rezoning for 6020 North Bailey. I'm going to motion to open the public hearing at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board. Matthew Oates with Benderson Development. This evening, we are requesting to rezone 0.82 acres of land at what's known as 6000 to 6020 North Bailey Avenue. On the aerial that's shown, it is the building in the southwest corner of what is known as Amherst Development Park. You could go to the next slide, please. The site is currently zoned research and development. It is on the southwest corner of Romney Road and North Bailey Avenue. If you could please go to the next slide. There are 5 existing buildings overall at the site. The rezoning is for one of the buildings. It is a request to allow Delta Sonic to have their soap blending facility in this building as part of looking to consolidate their overall warehouse and distribution facilities to this area. Overall, their facility is allowed in the research and development district except for the soap blending part of it. That's the only part that would not be allowed. If you could please go to the next slide. This is the overall site plan. So the rezoning request covers the full building at the southwest corner. And then for the last slide, we do think this proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. It did receive a positive recommendation from the planning board at their February 15th meeting as well. And again, as we did state, all the other uses that would allow Delta Sonic to combine the warehouse distribution is allowed in the district, and it is specifically the soap blending part that would require the rezone to the GI district. Happy to answer any questions the board has.
Just so For clarification, this will relocate that proposed use from behind the residence on Meyer east of North Bailey
Correct.
to this location?
That is correct, yes.
Anything further from the board? Anything from the audience tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So there'll be a decision on the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on Resolution 466, which is a proposed rezoning at 2280 Worley Drive. I'm going to motion to open the public hearing at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Good evening. My name is Pierce Young from Block and Longo. We represent Mr. Michael Keller for his application for rezoning 2280 Worley Drive. Next slide. As I mentioned, the property is located 2280 Drive. The current zoning district is Residential District 3, and the proposed new zoning district is mixed residential. Next slide. Just some pictures. Next slide. Some background information. My apologies for the typo that says office building district. It's residential district 3. The property is on the corner of Worley Drive and Southridge Court. There's a dental office that's located to the east, healthcare facility to the west, and residential homes to the north. The residential homes are more than 100 feet from the property, and it's my understanding that our client has talked with the residents of the surrounding property, and there's no opposition to the rezoning. So the proposed development will include an attractive high-end 4-unit luxury townhome style apartment structure. Each unit will be 2 stories in height. And then the property was chosen for this project because of its proximity to local amenities and the flourishing neighborhood. Next slide. Procedural history, the planning board, the petitioner initially submitted a request to amend the bicentennial plan from, again, my apologies, residential district 3 to mixed residential in September of 2023. The Town of Amherst Planning Board held a public hearing on November 16, 2023, and approved the request. And then the Planning Board issued a resolution amending the bicentennial plan on November 18, 2023. Next slide. Again, procedural history. The Town Board, as you know, the Town Board held a public hearing on the amendment of the comprehensive plan January 22nd, 2024, set a decision date, and the Town Board adopted the resolution amending the comprehensive plan February 5th, 2024. Next slide. The Planning Board, Amherst Planning Board held a public hearing on the rezoning request April 18, 2024, and the rezoning request was unanimously approved at that hearing. Next slide. Benefits of the proposed rezoning. The proposed project will offer investment, diversity of choice, and provide much-needed housing options in the area, increase current property tax, and then the project will be aesthetically appealing and design in harmony with the surrounding neighborhood. And then final slide. And again, compliance with the comprehensive plan. The project meets the Town of Amherst goal of creating an interconnected mix of land uses. The development will promote the revitalization of walkable, higher density centers within the Town of Amherst, encourage reinvestment in older neighborhoods and commercial corridors, and then again, just a different option for different lifestyle choice And then again, it matches the governance initiative of the plan. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions from this board? I think, go ahead.
I just would like some clarity. So we're calling them townhome style apartments. The application says owner occupied or rented. Are they going to be leased, rented, or owned by those who are going to be residing in them?
The owner is going to occupy one of the units, and then the other 3 are going to be leased.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the audience?
Gina Gentry, Bissell Drive. I guess my question is, why are we building more housing for people in an area where, if I'm correct on where that is, there's the dental office. It also has a chiropractor office right to the right of it if you're facing it. Like, this doesn't seem like an area to have more housing. There's Spindrift right down the road. It just seems like it would be a little bit of an awkward place to have a 2-story building on the corner there. What's the purpose? We have enough things right now that are needing like rent and everything. You're building something on Boulevard Mall. I mean, we have enough, and this doesn't fit in this neighborhood. Again, like, Amherst is how Amherst has been, and we don't want to change it. We don't want a college town. We don't want more luxury apartments. We want our town to be how our town has been.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments? Just to clarify, you said that the residents at Amherst Drive or Bellington have been spoken with or have commented on this?
Yes, it's my understanding that our client, Mr. Michael Keller, has talked with the residents, and there was no opposition. They actually would prefer the townhome apartments over the vacant land.
Okay. Did in just for confirmation, Tim, this was noticed to people within 600 feet now for the planning board meeting and prior during the comprehensive plan amendment? Yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to motion to close the public hearing. We'll have a decision on the next board agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is, so Resolution 467 and Resolution 468 are remnants of an old public hearing that took place a couple of years ago. And while the petitioner has asked that they be brought back, this board will later tonight reschedule or schedule a new public hearing rather than take action, and both those items are withdrawn. So with that, our next item on our agenda is going to be public expression. I'm going to ask our town attorney to read the rules for public expression, or the rules of order first.
Good evening. There will be several public participation opportunities throughout tonight's meeting for you to address the town board with your concerns. It's important that we review the town board's rules of order with regard to decorum, public hearings, and public expression. For your convenience, there are copies of the full rules of order available for your review in the containers attached to the entry door of this chamber. You will also be able to find there copies of tonight's agenda. The rules of order and full agenda packets are also available on the town's website. With regard to decorum, order and decorum must be maintained throughout tonight's meeting. Pursuant to the rules of order, speakers shall address the board as a whole and refrain from partisan political commentary, personal, impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks, catcalls, noisemakers, or other outbursts that disrupt the order of the meeting. Any person who makes such remarks or otherwise disrupts the meeting with loud outbursts, shouting, threats, or other disruptive behavior at the discretion of the supervisor or after a motion and majority consensus of the board shall be ruled out of order.
Okay, with that, I'm going to
Wait,
motion. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I had to skip over the public hearing section. Next slide, Tim, please. There are two opportunities for you to speak to the board with comments on topics not covered within the public hearing scheduled for tonight. Per the rules of order, the purpose of public expression is to allow opportunity for the public to formally address the board on any matter involving Amherst. This is not a question and answer session or intended to be a conversation with the board. Rather, this is an opportunity for the public to express their opinion on issues that the board will cover during the meeting or bring attention to an issue involving Amherst. Speakers may comment for up to 3 minutes. The clerk will ring the bell once when you have 30 seconds remaining and twice when your time is finished. There's a sign-up sheet at the podium for you to indicate your interest in speaking. Once those that have signed up are finished, the supervisor will ask if there are additional speakers who would like to comment. A final reminder that decorum must be maintained. All remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to any single member thereof. And in the event that the speaker's inquiry is urgent or their comment is inaccurate, the supervisor or a town board member may respond for 1 minute after closing public expression. Thank you for your adherence to these town board's rules of order.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to motion to open public expression.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Janice Herman.
Supervisor Colpo, members of the town
Oh, can you pull the microphone down, please? Thank you.
and neighbors. I'm Janice Herman. This month marks my 54th year residing on Huxley Drive. My husband Rick was born in Snyder. He's a 29-year retired Army veteran. I served for 3 years in the Army Reserve. Our next door neighbor is a 100-year-old veteran of World War II. He served at Kasserine Pass in Tunisia, where his unit was surrounded by Rommel's forces, and 3,300 Americans lost their lives, and 3,000 Americans were taken as prisoners of war. So freedom has its cost, and I ask that this Memorial Week we honor those who have paid the ultimate price on our behalf by living the responsibility of those rights, civility and respect in public discourse. Those on the dais are neighbors, and they serve this town, but they are not our punching bags. They reside here and have vested interest in the well-being of our town. Their families are just as affected by their decisions as the rest of us. They entered public service with good intentions, just as I would expect that those in the audience planning on running for office next year also will have that expectation and will appreciate respect and courtesy if they are elected. The council is elected to make decisions on our behalf. We are fortunate they bring to the table unique specialized education, experience, and depth of knowledge to make good decisions for the right reasons. They are good people. My son gave me a valuable lesson recently. In his workplace, he has adopted the concept of assumed positive intent. I realize the impact it could have if, when we question another's motives for making a decision, we assume they mean well, want what's best, and have good reasons behind a decision, that we might better listen to why the decision is being made and what led to the decision. In my conversations with Supervisor Culpa about decisions, I've been impressed with the many, many factors that went into it. He willingly took me step by step through the processes, as he has done at public meetings. He and this council have worked with good intentions to enhance our community and take advantage of once-in-a-generation opportunities to provide an outstanding cultural venue for our residents. It will be beneficial to all our residents. All will not agree with all the decisions. We each have different expectations and want different things, but each need is important and must be juggled. Decisions are made and good things take time, so results may take years. But if we're able to assume positive intent while keeping a cautious eye, we shall be able to fill our mandate to act with civility and respect in public discourse. We honor those who served and died by using this house of democratic government with respect. We must set aside the fear-mongering, jeers, personal attacks, and childish name-calling and return to adult, well-researched, and courteous contributions. We are asked simply to control our passions, anger, and outburst and act as adults. They were asked to give their lives. Let us be worthy of their sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Hoban.
Dennis Hoban, 216 California Drive, Waynesville, New York. I just basically have one question. Why are we building a sports complex for Damon University?
When you're done, I'll answer that question.
You will?
Yep. When you're
Okay.
done.
Because it's being built with taxpayer money. I'm sorry, no, it's not. It's being built, we're borrowing the money, and then the taxpayers have to pay it back. It's not being built on property that Damon University owns. It's being built on town property. And I've looked at the drawings, and it looks to me like it's tailor-made for Damon University. It doesn't make any sense. I believe it's about $7 million we're going to be borrowing. Is that correct, Brian?
When you're done, I'll answer the question.
Okay. Well, that's a yes or no. It's approximately $7 million we're borrowing. Should I address you as Dr. Culpa instead of supervisor? I don't know. But
Thanks, Dennis. It sounds like your comments are about over.
should I stay here while you answer the question, or
No.
does Damon College have property on their campus where they could build?
I'm going to answer your question when you're done. If you're done, have a seat. I'll answer your question.
Okay, I'm not done yet. Does Damon College have property on their campus where they can build their own sports complex with their own money? I mean, why are we building a sports complex for a private university? It makes no sense whatsoever. I've seen the drawings. It's like, I think there's 10 tennis courts they're building. I've got tennis courts in the South Lawn Park, around the corner from my house and your house. And I've never seen anybody play tennis there, maybe once when they were first built. And why we need 10 tennis courts, I have no idea. So, go ahead, answer the question.
Have a seat, Dennis.
I don't have to sit down. I got time left. Answer the question.
He's going to pick and choose what he wants to answer.
Brian, please
I'll let
answer.
you-
Please
when you're-
answer the
When
question.
you're finished, I will answer the question. Please.
I'm finished. Go ahead.
Then please have a seat.
You'll answer the question now?
I'm going to answer it right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I've answered it for the past 3 meetings. We are building a sports complex, quote unquote, at Royal Park. What we're really doing is answering a question that was asked back in 2016 and 2017, which is what park needs do we have? Consistently, we've heard more tennis, we've heard more pickleball, we've heard more splash pads, and we've heard use or reuse the existing ball fields at Royal Park. So the town board, have a seat, Dennis. You're not. This
Brian,
isn't a
those
debate.
things-
It's not a debate. Have a
I
seat.
just want to ask one more question. I want to say something to that, though. Brian, those are alternates. All the things you just mentioned are alternates. They don't necessarily have, that's not the, I was at the bidding process, and the things you just mentioned, the pickleball and all those things, those are just alternates. They don't have to be.
So Dennis, I can help with this. Are you done? Are you done with the? Because we don't want to debate. He's all set. He's fine. You're going to have a seat. So they are alternate bid options that we voted on at the last meeting. We voted in, and as was answered at that.
Sit down.
Dennis, have a seat.
Conversation. Okay. It's fine. And so as we voted on and as we said there, we're expecting and looking into grant options for the pickleball. We opted for the, I believe, 6 tennis court bid option, and we didn't look at the 4 tennis court option. So when they put all their bids in, those were what was selected based on the bonding amount. The bonding amount that was voted last year for authorization was $7.16 million. I'm sorry. The bonding amount that was authorized last year was $7.16 million, so your number there was correct. The park will be used in part by Damon University and students there who are among Amherst community members, but they will be Amherst parks, Amherst fields that will be allowed.
I think that it's being built for Damon University.
I appreciate your thoughts there, Dennis, but this is not a debate. I'm just explaining where we're coming from. So they are Amherst Town Parks, as you can see in the lease. There is non-exclusive use by Damon University. It is still town parks. It is still town fields. It still belongs to the town of Amherst, and it will help us for our future and our residents and our community members.
Okay, thank you. Next is Judy Ferraro.
Judy Ferraro, 213 Donnelly. Why has the Amherst Town Hall become a version of Tammany Hall, complete with hucksters and grifters that are underwritten by the very people that are held and treated with contempt and suffer the most? How did this happen? Did we believe the spinmeisters who transformed into self-serving overlords once elected? The language games, the pandering, the promises of shiny toys and money to capture some and then use them as lapdogs to push your agenda. An agenda that impoverishes the working and middle class, mortgages the future of our children through generational thievery, and continues to deprive them of nature's beauty and a healthy, safe environment by plundering natural resources and allowing helter-skelter, inappropriate development throughout Amherst. The elitist dream pushed upon people is an abject failure. Promising utopia in 10 years to any thinking, honest person is unrealistic and more dystopian. The community is coming together to combat arrogance and corruption. They are the watchdogs. They bring the facts and the proof. Your meetings have become kabuki theater. Your smirking facades are your most noted talents that has become a laughing stock. Perhaps it is time to change rather than spin and actually do what was said during campaigns. Protect established neighborhoods, protect ecosystems, wetlands, green-treed areas, wildlife, the general well-being of the people, and listen to the people. They are the experts, not the surrogates you hire using our money that become your puppets with your delusional, destructive mentality. Yeah. Listen to the people. Can you do that? Thank you.
Matt Plunkett.
Matt Plunkett, North Hill Drive. The first woman who spoke, I'm sorry I didn't get your name. Appreciate the sacrifices of your family in North Africa in 1943. My uncle was killed in North Africa in 1943, about 2 weeks before the Battle of Kasserine Pass. And it was no picnic for those guys when they were over there at that time, that's for sure. You commented about how people are disrespectful in this meeting. Don't ever forget, it was the supervisor of the town of Amherst who said that people who disagree with him are racists. He said that. He said that. He can deny it all he wants. He said it, okay? One thing, quick, musical fair theater. I was reading in the Bee that the town is now trying to, seek alternate sources of funding to help musical fair theater. I wouldn't spend too much time doing that. My guess is by now there are probably 8 to 10 other towns lined up and vying with each other to hand $11 million over to them to build their theater. So I'm sure that'll get taken care of very, very easily. A few weeks back, there was somebody posted a picture of the supervisor meeting with the governor at the Bills Cowboys game last fall. And it turns out that other people have raised ethical issues about that whole issue. There have been ethics complaints filed against the governor, the Speaker of the Assembly, and the Majority Leader of the State Assembly over attendance at that game. The ethics charges have to do with the fact that there are very specific uses meant for that suite at the stadium, and during the course of the game, the room was full of lobbyists, and it's not meant for lobbying. And the ethics complaints against the governor and the rest of them weren't filed by some unwashed racist like the rest of us. They were filed by a guy named David Grandow, who for years was the chairman of the State Lobbying Commission. Before that was replaced by, when Spitzer replaced it with the Joint Commission on Public Integrity. At the time, the Bills determined that the cost of a ticket to sit in that booth, which I guess they're required to do under the arrangement they have with the state, was $177. Now, my understanding is that the supervisor got to go for nothing to this thing. There's a provision, section 19-4 of the general regulations in the town ethics code. No town official, and I'm just taking it to cover the part that's directly applicable here. No town official shall directly or indirectly accept or receive any gift or series of gifts having an annual value of $75 or more, whether in the form of money, service, loans, entertainment, or promise in any other form, under circumstances in which it could reasonably be inferred that the gift was intended to influence him or could reasonably be expected to influence him in the performance of his official duties. So I'll leave it up to everybody else to think whether there might be a problem with the attendance at that game.
Don Smith.
Good evening, Town Board members. My name is Donald Smith from North Long. When I first, for Resolution 2024-483, dealing with the budget neutral bond spending for the Royal Park project, I noticed that $218,784 were transferred from contingency to construction. Well, I've listened to what I said tonight, and I figured out probably what that means. I didn't really understand what that was, what happened. I didn't get to see the work session because I must have missed it on the town Minitrack websites for some reason. I don't understand why, but so it looks like it's either new construction or overruns on existing construction. I don't know which, whether it was taken for contingency. So I'd like to find out whether that's true or not. Secondarily, I noticed when I went on the Damon University website, I noticed there's something called the Master Plan 2025, wherein it was stated or asserted by the people who put together their website in that particular document that the town engineering department was going to be doing the design work for a quadrangle or some sort of project on their property where they'd have to give up some sort of amount of parking. But they said that in that particular document that parking would be replaced by parking that would be on the Royal Parkway area, and that's where they would be parking their vehicles. That's what they asserted. I didn't say that I asserted it or anything like that. they asserted that sort of situation. So that master plan has a couple of things in them which is somewhat disturbing, and I don't know if they're true or not. And if they're not true, I'd like to find out from this board whether one of that document is true or not. Thank you very much for listening to me.
So we participated in a hydraulic study. We have a tremendous amount of runoff through the Snyder and Eggertsville areas that happen at the top of the escarpment. And if you look at Park School, the Park School model was that you could, and frankly the Spring Street model in Williamsville was that you could capture the stormwater runoff, take stormwater runoff, control it, push it through a series of biofilters, release it slowly and clean, and solve a lot of the issues that we have downstream. So when Damon started their plan, they originally asked us for more parking at Royal Park. We told them no. They're limited to only use when they're there for an event as part of their agreement with the town. But we did participate in a stormwater analysis and tried to figure out how we could take some of the stormwater off of that campus out of the picture downstream and slow it, and taking the center parking between two of their major buildings out and replacing it with green space does in fact have an immediate impact on the neighborhood that's north of Damon College, and that's what the town was working on, but we did not give any parking concessions. Thanks, Don. Gina Gentry, you're next.
Gina Gentry, Bissell Drive. So I would like to talk about the decorum issue. Every week or every month, every meeting, we sit up here and we talk about decorum from those that are in the audience. Well, I'm not sure if any of you have read the Town of Amherst Town Policy Manual that was revised on June 30th of 2014. Do you know, Mr. Lawyer? No? Okay. So it says the public. Unlike business in the private sector, government has no owner or owners. More specifically, government has stakeholders. We are the stakeholders, okay? We are important. Our opinion matters. And all the people within the territorial boundaries. Each employee of the government is elected, appointed, or hired to perform a particular job or function for the stakeholders, for us. Not for Brian Culpa's pocket, not for Jackie Berger's pocket, for us. The public judges the quality of town services by the courtesy and efficiency demonstrated to them personally by town employees with whom they come in contact with. The public supports town services with their taxes, and the major function of town activity is to provide services, not buildings. Services. Yeah. So the public has every right to expect town employees to be courteous and unbiased while performing their work duties. And when performing employment duties, employees must occasionally come in contact with members of the public who are discourteous because they are worried or possibly because they don't understand why something cannot be done. This is not well written, so I suggest you get it rewritten. But in other cases, why something has to be done. A most important aspect of your job is to exhibit good manners and be polite, respectful, and as helpful as possible in spite of such occasional difficulty. I'm going to tell you this right now. 3 of you have not followed this. There are 2 people sitting on the board right now that I would say, even though I don't agree with some of the things with them, they are at least respectful, they are courteous, they listen. Mr. Skazula, and I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, the way you came at me last meeting after was absolutely unprofessional. And for you as a man to speak to a woman like that, you should be ashamed of yourself. I know you wouldn't want someone to speak to your wife like that. Well, I am a wife. And I would like to offer a suggestion. I've asked you to resign. I know it offends you. I'm sorry that that's offensive, but I'm not here to make friends with you. Maybe instead of resigning, you would like the term stepping down. 3 of you, your terms are almost up. Tonawanda, there was a lady that could not complete her duties as such. She stepped down and replaced somebody in her spot. We would love for you to step down and pick another Democrat to come into your spot that would defend and respect and use our money the way that we want it to as stakeholders, not the way that you want it to. Thank you very much for not calling me out of order this meeting.
Anybody else?
Joe Stelteri, 23 Rhinewald. You know, every school board passed, sounds like. Williamsville passed, it was like 2,000 to 800. Where are all these people to vote down the school board? Really? Dennis, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I saw him on a Sunday morning in the drive-through at Tim Hortons, getting everybody riled up about the 11.4. What about the school taxes? That's the real elephant in the room, the school taxes. But you can't go to a school board meeting and talk to the school board people like that. They'll smear you through the community. But here, everybody, and I'm not BFF with any of these people, but here they can call these people cowards and whatever. At least if we put up musical fair, we put up a park, we kind of see what we got. With the schools, they've been throwing money at their problems for years. What did they do with the COVID money? Nobody asked any questions about that. I don't get it. It's all about the school taxes. Anyway.
Thank you.
Jerry DeCosmo, Meyer Road. I was sitting here listening to the Benderson individual comment about, or asked for the rezoning of the area on North Bailey there. And it occurred to me that, and I needed to comment on this because originally that soap blending factory was supposed to go behind my house. And they, I heard before that they had mentioned that it is a more convenient location for them to have it on North Bailey. But they also made a comment, not tonight, but previously, that they did it because the homeowners were objecting to it. Well, I don't think they do anything because the homeowners have a concern. But I also wanted to say that 2 years ago, when this was brought up, about 2 years ago, that we had some concerns about the chemicals that were being blended, mixed, whatever you want to call it, and that there were some poison signage that was associated with some of those chemicals. And that even though you all went, or some of you went to Benderson's current location, and they assured you that they were all safe, I still have concerns about those chemicals, whatever, soaps, whatever they were using. Now, I always wondered, and it always confused me, why, if they were so safe, that they needed to be a designation of an industrial zoning. That was just something that occurred to me. If you're safe, why do we have to have an industrial zoning? I also am concerned because now it appears that Benderson is moving their entire project to North Bailey. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I'm only getting dribs and drabs of what's happening, but this 108,000 square foot factory warehouse that is supposed to be sitting behind my house to the tune of 600 feet long by 180 feet wide. The planning board tells me that, or planning department tells me that those plans still exist. But I'm concerned that they're going to come back with something totally different. And Mr. Baglioli, all he says is we have right to build and we can go 8 stories. Well, it was 37 feet tall, and we had kind of resigned ourselves to this, and now things are falling apart. We have buffers in place and compensations and things for, you know, trees and fences and things, and now I'm very concerned that what's going to happen is I'm going to have to fight all over again. I'm tired. You know, I understand that. I don't understand, quite honestly. Like I said, we had resigned ourselves to it, and now we're going to be facing it all over again. And I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Richard Bosch, 60 East Maplemere. My parents built our home in Eggertsville 72 years ago when I was a year old. I grew up in a great town, and I hope it will remain someplace that people will want to live. Other than last month, I've not been to a town board meeting in over 13 years. I attended every board meeting for years during the Benderson Gun Club project, the Mensch Westwood project. This almost cost me my marriage and my life. I became concerned again because of 22 Chateau Terrace, the 11.4% tax increase, the LED lighting, and the musical fair bonding. I do not agree with a lot of the decisions this board has made. However, I want to thank you for what you do and having to listen to concerned citizens' emotional concerns. I wish some on the board would not talk condescendingly to the speakers. I think more could be accomplished if both sides could calmly work together. Most people who speak from this podium have never run for or held public office or even been a member of a town board. I thank you for doing that. When Kevin Gaughan was pushing downsizing town governments across the board, I spoke against it. I said each town needed to look at their own board size and that Amherst size might need to be increased from 7 members and not decreased to 5 for proper representation. I do not think the citizens are getting proper representation, and that is not only because all of this board are from the same political party. There are many committees and a lot going on in the town for only 5 members to stay on top of it. I have some thoughts. I could go on forever. I think all bonding issues should be a referendum to be voted on by the citizens. Okay? It is our money. It's also your money, but it's our money. I suggest also that all members of boards and committees learn how to better use their microphones so that the people in the audience and on YouTube can hear them. Also, please show the slides for the people watching these meetings on YouTube. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. Julie Van Lente, Parkwood Drive, Snyder. I, 2 meetings ago, spoke about some concerns with regard to moving Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village to the Westwood site, given it's an onion, pulling back the layers of all the things you learn and learning that it has been considered contaminated, let alone the costs of what that none of us know that might entail. But my gut instinct from knowing the costs involved and some of the things I've learned since November, which was the first meeting I started coming to. I wasn't able to come to the last one, but I saw it online, and last gentleman is absolutely right. Need to see the slides. You can't really hear everything that's said. But my concern tonight also is that given what most of us see as an unholy alliance between developers and the board, it struck a chill through my heart to see an announcement of 3 new new Board of Trustee members to the Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village, one of whom is a current existing council for Benderson Development. My gut instinct way back when was, okay, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to move this museum again, given the fragility of the buildings, the costs, and it was chosen for that site for a specific historic reason. And in my cynical view, I was thinking, oh, probably some developer wants the property. This scared me. So I don't know how people get onto the board. I know it's in trying to learn about this, it's a license, or I can't think of the right word, with the Board of Education. I know the county has money invested in it, in the state, according to what the charter supposedly says. From what I've read, this is off the top because I just saw this like yesterday and wasn't able to dig into it till reading this a little bit more. So please, I'd rather see that museum saved and be what it was supposed to be, which was our answer to the Williamsburg, Virginia Living History Museum. I remember when that was instituted back in '77, and I thought it was really cool. And ups and downs through the years, and please don't move it, keep it where it is, and make it what it was supposed to be in accordance to resident wishes. Thank you.
So, I don't know who the BNHV organization's appointed. It is a separate not-for-profit, and they do their own recruitment and appointments. There's no plans from this board to seek development opportunities from any land at Oakwood or BNHV other than purely recreational. The BNHV project or a potential move is something that, well, we are going to consider, but at the end of the day, there's a lot to it, and there's a lot to BNHV where it is as well. You know, the museum building was built to originally to support an airplane museum or an aerospace museum. That didn't come to fruition. That's the adjacent building. The building was then built out as an Amherst museum. It was operated by the town of Amherst for a long time and then spun off as a not-for-profit. So we have to deal with where that not-for-profit is heading or not heading in relationship to maintaining town facilities, and that's what this board's looking at, is what is ultimately in the best interest of the town facilities themselves. Anybody else?
Hi, Therese Berry, Bissell Lee. Last Thursday, I called the assessor's office wanting to refute my assessment and asked for all the information that I needed to know. I wanted to do everything, cross all the T's, dot all the I's. They said it had to be in by 8 tonight, and I said, what if I want a personal, in-person review with it? She said, you can make the appointment when you drop that off. Well, I dropped it off this afternoon, and I asked about making the appointment, and they said the appointments are all full.
Okay, I don't know that to be the case. If you give us your name and address, I'm sure we can figure out what has to happen. Yeah, they're not going to deny anybody space, but okay. Joe, go ahead.
Joe Botovich, 35 B. Cybers. In the last few weeks, I've been reading a lot about town bonds, maybe way too much at times, but I uncovered something a little interesting here. I found a bond passed in 2016 that was used to finance the UB Foundation for housing there, refinancing some of their bonds. It was for a total of $82 million that was passed on to UB through the Amherst IDA. I looked at something like that, it said, it seems a lot like money laundering since it's going through a third party on this. So I started looking up more colleges and found more bonds. 2018, there was one passed through Damon College to finance some student housing there for $37 million. 2021, another bond to the UB Foundation, again for more student housing for $32 million. Total of those three bonds were $151 million. Now, I looked at the state constitution. Article 18 states that municipalities are not allowed to funnel money nor lines of credit onto private organizations. So I'm at a loss now to explain how all this money got forwarded from Amherst to these private organizations. I'll be looking into that shortly and maybe sending a letter to the state controller maybe to get an explanation on this. Thank you.
So, to be clear, those bonds weren't written by the town of Amherst. The IDA is a separate agency. It has authority under New York state law and does regularly issue bonds on behalf of colleges and universities, as most IDAs do. So you can inquire with the IDA or the IDA's attorneys, but that's not the town, and those aren't town-controlled. That's not town-controlled debt. So.
Bob Dirtle, 92 Chateau Terrace. Regarding the school zone signs for Born-Hava, all right, they were put up last week. The southbound sign on Chateau is blocked by a tree. You can't see it until you're right on top of it. The westbound sign on Chateau South is pretty much the same thing. You can't see it until you're right on top of it. Yeah, because there are trees in the way. Something needs to be done to re-sign these, move them, whatever. Maybe the one on Chateau South could be put in front. You know, it's a T intersection, put it in front, because I don't think people are going to realize that it means going up to Main Street is a school zone. The other thing is, on Chateau Terrace, heading northbound, between Main Street and Chateau South, there's still a 30-mile-an-hour sign in the school zone. You know, that should have been removed. Now, can we get this fixed, and then can we get somebody to do some traffic enforcement? Because, I mean, people are still flying by. Buses are going by, UPS trucks are going by, and going over 30, 35, 40 miles an hour in the school zone. People coming down from Main Street, you can't tell me they're going slow, because I'm like 3 houses after the school zone ends, they're doing 40 miles an hour. You know, if you come down Chateau heading north, you basically have to watch your speed limit, because it's downhill, and if you just, coast down it, you're going 20 miles an hour. And most people don't coast anywhere anymore. And, the other thing is, it seems like our town of Amherst could use a couple of those speed monitoring signs where they tell you how fast you're going when you go by. I mean, it's all over town. Everybody's complaining about the speed. I mean, school zones on Main Street, you go past Christ the King, you go past Williamsville South, nobody, very few people go the speed limit, which is, 30, 35 miles an hour, whatever it is. Something needs to be done. Okay, I mean, and, as far as streets go, the only street that I know of that it's enforced on is Brompton. I mean, that's been, for years, it's been a cut through to Sheridan Drive off of Main Street, and you used to see police there on a regular basis. So, I mean, that needs to change. 22 Chateau Terrace. Have we come up with what exactly was spread all over the neighborhood yet, or is that still pending?
I'm going to answer that. The information was shared with you, with the residents, from, at the time, Senator Kennedy's office. No written report was done. The State Health Department said they found no contaminants.
Okay, well, nobody ever told
It was
anybody that.
passed along to the school and other residents that asked.
Never got it.
Okay, so.
Well, that's the answer.
So it does exist, that's fine. We'll,
Okay. All right. The garage at 22 Chateau Terrace. Are we going to get that rebuilt? Or is it, just Benderson got fined $500 and that's it? The demolition, I mean, it should be rebuilt. The land was, the whole site was historically protected. Can we get something done on that?
So that is in front of the HPC. Once we landmarked it here, it goes back in front of the HPC. It became as part of the pending litigation, which is prior to landmark status and prior to the garage being taken down. But all of that is per the town attorney's position, not to speak out of turn, is within that litigation. So while that litigation goes forward, everything's kind of on hold, but it'll go back in front of the HPC once there is some sort of settlement to the outstanding litigation. It won't come back here for the board to make a determination on whether the garage will be rebuilt or not, but it goes back to the HPC for proper moving forward on a landmark property and improper demolition.
Can the citizens be informed of what the litigation is?
I believe the citizens are part of the litigation. I don't know the parties of it, but I believe it's parties in that neighborhood. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't know who they are. I
Yeah,
don't.
I know who they are, but
Okay.
as far as I know, that's not going anywhere.
all right, okay, thanks.
I don't-
So,
as long as I know
yeah,
what's outstanding.
I will address that a little bit further when you're set. Are you all done? Okay. So HPC, ultimately, you'll have to make a determination, but as Angela suggested, there is an active Article 78 filed on the seeker findings by the planning board, and so we're waiting to see where the appeal of that Article 78 goes. Regarding Bornhava school signs, I haven't seen them. We will talk to Highway about their placement and about tree coverage. I agree they should be visible. The 30-mile-per-hour sign gets misleading while school's not in session. It's probably a 30-mile-an-hour standing speed, but we have that. That happens often where we have our typical 30-mile-an-hour signs that conflict with the school zones, and we'll deal with that. And then regarding speed monitoring signs, we are using those, including Brompton, and using those more and more. Is there anybody else?
Chris Strongoski, Youngs Road. You made a statement earlier about the airport museum being where the Amherst Museum. I need to correct you. Jack Sharp, former town supervisor, built what he wanted to be a aircraft museum, what is now North Amherst Recreation Facility. So the museum was never going to be an aircraft museum. It has come to my attention that the Williamsville School Board is no longer, Williamsville School Board District is no longer interested in partnering with the town of Amherst with the pre-K program at Westwood Country Club. Is that true? You're shaking your head, so I'm assuming it's true.
I'll answer everything at the end.
Okay. So, which brings me to the next question. When are the residents going to have access to that so-called park? I mean, when's the fence going to come down? When are people going to be able to walk through there, observe nature, enjoy it in its natural setting? I mean, we paid an awful lot of money for that property. In your own words, it was a little bit contrived, so there's no reason why the fence shouldn't come down and the residents should be able to go out there and enjoy that park in its natural setting. Thank you.
So I will just say the school district is not interested in that, in the back half of the clubhouse, and that's fine. Regarding access to the site, my hope is that we'll have at least partial access soon, because it is ultimately a park, whether we construct playgrounds or not on it. When we construct those, you know, it'll be a park facility, so the goal basically is to clear all the last hoops we have to through DEC and open portions of it. But thank you, Jane.
Jane Cox, Harlem Road. I just want to clarify that the Bornava School on Chateau is a year-round school, and therefore they need the school zone signs up year-round. And I also want to support the other speakers who have talked about leaving the Amherst Museum where it is located. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else?
I do have one thing, Ms. DeCosmo. My understanding for the rezoning from general, whatever it is, general to general industrial from warehousing is because something will be produced on the facility site and not because it's not just going to be stored there. So you asked about the rezoning to industrial. I think based on my reading of when I was prepping, is that it's because they're going to be doing stuff on the property instead of just warehousing and distributing out from there. They're going to be mixing the soap there. That's why they need that rezoning for the property there.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Seeing none, I'm going to motion to close public expression.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on our agenda is a consent agenda this evening. I'm going to ask our town clerk to please read the consent agenda.
Town attorney, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Town clerk, 1, 2, 3. Building, maintenance, 1. Controller, 1. Contract compliance, 1, 2, 3. Emergency services, 1. Engineering, 1. Highway, 1, 2. Human resources, 1, 2, 3. Planning, 1, 2. Youth and recreation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Under communications, first one's consent. Second, schedule June 24th public hearing. Third, refer to attorney, planning, and highway. 4, schedule a presentation for upcoming work session. 5, receive and file. 6, refer to attorney, public improvement permits. 1 was consent, 2 was consent, and the third one was withdrawn.
A motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is a second round of public expression. I'm going to motion to open that now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Of course.
Joe Wojtowicz, 35 B. Cyrus. Now let me pick up on the bond issues again. I'm going to again talk about the sewer bond that was passed at the end of April for $21 million, and that included no option of permissive referendum. Taking a look at why that was like that. I was told that it's because it's considered a special district. Well, one of the things about a special district is for the bond to be effective, it has to qualify certain property owners that are going to get benefits from the project, and who's going to pay for the tax on there. According to the resolution, there's no benefits listed for specific properties, and it's paid for with a general tax from the entire town. According to this, then, it should be applicable for the permissive referendum. Now, I was also looking around other things on that agenda from that one day, and there was a bond passed on the same date for Harding Road for adding 5 lights in that new district there. Now, these are supposed to be paid for by the developer with no cost to the town. The benefits were going to be paid by the property owners, who would pay approximately $122 per year. Very explicit directions on the project. This one included the option of the permissive referendum. They'll explain to me how a $21 million project paid for by the whole town cannot be voted on by the whole town, but 5 lights in a neighborhood of 8 houses, that is allowed to be voted on by the whole town. This does not make any sense to me. Again, I'm going to put this in a letter. I'll probably be putting it in for a communications letter to be posted with the next agenda. And another letter is going to the state controller. Thank you.
Good evening, town board members. My name is Don Smith, North Long. When the board used for the Royal Parkway project, the matter of the town versus the city of Rochester versus the Monroe County, I found that very disturbing in the sense that you did not discuss this amongst yourselves or the people here, why you used that particular thing for particular reasoning for that particular project. So therefore, I went on and did an extensive study on the web and found a town in downstate where that was originally discussed by in detail before the vote was taken by the town board members with the public in place, which took them approximately 30 minutes to discuss all the pros and cons, where every member of the town board at that time, which were 5, explained their positions prior to their vote on why they supported that. Then I checked back 5 months later as to whether they actually implemented that reasoning for building a senior center for $32 million, what they're looking for. I'll get the town later. And I found no documentation whatsoever on the website that they actually implemented or pulled the trigger on that particular reasoning for that particular project. I looked on other projects in other parts of the town for that and found very little use of that thing in that particular mechanism in the town. So for the purposes of that particular reasoning, I found, in my personal opinion, this town board missed its need to explain to the public why they are implementing that mechanism in any detail, because it was just voted on and then particularly not explained in any way, shape, or form. There is a large discussion on one I'll talk to it next time we come here and discuss it in more detail. But I find that very disturbing. Thank you very much.
I do have a point of clarification, Mr. Smith. I did explain my reasoning for my vote there, and it was because the plans in place were within the zoning ordinance, and due to the time and the loss of the potential grant opportunity from Damon University, I felt it was necessary to take that. I agreed with the reasoning as explained in the document that was in the agenda packet, but I did take the time to explain my vote prior to voting.
Matt Plunkett, North Hill Drive. I've said before at other meetings that 20 years ago at this time I was employed by the town. I spent 7 years here. And my time here overlapped with the service on the town board of the Honorable William A. O'Loughlin Jr. And I got to know him and work with him and watch him work here for 4 years. He was arrogant in the extreme. He treated employees, other town board members, department heads, the public with disrespect on a regular basis. And he was just a very, very difficult person to deal with. Councilman Berger, compared to you, he was the soul of civility.
Okay.
Gina Gentry, Bissell Drive. So I want to talk about the use of the money again. I actually had a really nice conversation with Angela and with Sean within the past couple months, and we discussed some things based upon what our money is being spent on. I find it comical, I think I said this last time, that you were willing to spend $11 million to get a bond for a private entity, or however you want to call them, a non-for-profit, to build a building for them, but you didn't want to spend $200,000 to bring to a public vote so that the taxpayers had a voice. You shut it down. You were willing to spend 11 million, but not willing to spend 200,000. That's a problem. Same thing, you're going to build all these new parks. Parks are great, I agree. They're a place for kids to go, but it is not on Brian Culpa's or the board's personal endeavors, okay? The Harlem Road Community Center, we had this conversation, has a roof that's leaking. There are kids that go to that. There are programs that work out of that. $200,000 to fix the roof, but we're not doing that. But we're going to build a new athletic facility for Damon College to use. No matter how you say it, we, the taxpayers, will not be able to use that the majority of the time. It will be between the hours of, 9 and 4? I work during those hours. When will I be able to use that facility? It is not a priority. Go back to the basics of government. Need versus wants. This is not a need. Needs are our workers getting paid decent wage so that they can support their families under this tax increase. Have you figured out that contract for the CSEA yet? Or are they still out of contract? Because you have them here every single month to click their thing to make sure that there is not over fire code, but you're not willing to get them their union contract that they need. I'm not understanding why your priorities are out of place. You all make enough money. Not everybody in Amherst does. Taxes are being raised, and you can't tell me that this is the only year they're going to raise, because now I believe all the businesses are fighting their reassessments. And what happens when they fight those reassessments? Where is that lost money going to go back on? It's going to go back on us, the taxpayers, because you're going to need the money from somewhere. Maybe you didn't want to drive out the Boulevard Mall because that was a huge amount of revenue for you. And now it's what? It's back on us, the individuals that are making minimum to support a family while everybody else can line their pockets. Please get back to priorities.
Anybody else?
It takes a certain amount of courage, I think, to come up here. And I give a lot of these people that come up here and speak at this podium, I give them a lot of thanks. I think there's a lot of people that are sitting at home and wish they had the courage to come here, and I wish they had the courage to come here and speak up as well. But a lot of them are sitting around and maybe they're like zooming in, you know. But it doesn't bother me. Well, it does bother me a little bit that we're being misled or we're being out and out lied to by this board. But what bothers me more is that I've come to the point where I can't really believe anything that this board tells me. I stood up here a couple of months ago at a meeting, and there was something on the consent agenda, bonding $150,000 to buy a dump truck, and Brian mentioned that it was for facilities management and Harlem Road Community Center. And when I mentioned that there's already an F-350 dump truck, four-wheel drive, sitting in the parking lot over there, and I know that for a fact because we were over there getting signatures for our petition for the referendum, he told me that's just about enough out of you, Dennis. And then he said, meeting adjourned. Yeah. And sometimes I don't like to stay because when Brian Culpa says he's going to answer questions, at the end, he really doesn't answer them. He just gets up and walks out that door over there. He picks and chooses. I asked, in my question, I asked, why are we building a sports complex for Damon University? You really didn't answer the question. And I also asked, does Damon College or Damon University, Don't they have enough land over there they can build their own sports center? And if they don't, maybe, Brian, maybe you can take some people's homes by eminent domain and then give it to Damon College. I mean, like you did with J.C. Penney's. Don't look at me. Don't give me that look, Brian. I mean, it's an absurd idea, but I mentioned it to somebody earlier, and they said, "Don't give him any ideas. He might do it." Something else. But anyway, no, I mean, really, I grew up on Washington Highway. I remember when that college was Rosary Hill College. I used to go back there. There was a pond back there. There was quite a bit of room back there. I think there's probably enough room that they could build their own sports complex. I have no idea why the town of Amherst, and you still didn't explain it to me, why are we building a sports complex for Damon College? But then it begs the question, why were we building a theater for a musical fair? You know, this gentleman, Joe, mentioned he read the statute, New York State statute. You can't bond money and give it away.
Dennis,
So, but
thank
apparently...
you. You're past your time. Thanks.
Can I just finish my sentence?
Finish the sentence and then have a seat.
Okay, thank you. I don't want you to have to bring the police officer up and to carry me out. And that's another thing. It does take courage to come up here because you do get intimidated, you know, and that's really wrong. We should be able to get up here and speak our mind.
Dennis,
But-
when you go over and you're out of line, you do it to yourself. So please finish your sentence and then take your seat.
Well, I would like to know, you know, why we are borrowing money. If it's illegal, state statute, we're borrowing money, we're bonding money and giving it away to musical fairs and private universities and whatever else we're bonding money for and giving it away. Why?
Have a seat, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I'm going to motion to close public expression.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are not building a sports complex for Damon. We are redoing a park that has 2 unused ball fields, that has a basketball facility that's fallen apart, that had a tennis court which was completely heaved and needed to be ripped out, and lacks pickleball and lacks other amenities the neighborhood has asked for over time. When we decided to move forward, we said, what should we do with the softball and baseball fields? Looking at our uses, we consistently have issues with soccer programs and lacrosse programs and everybody else who use that dimensional field because North French and Clearfield and places like that have drainage issues, especially in April and times in the fall. So we started to look at the idea of building a turf field. Damon College asked if they could use that field, similar to how colleges use the Northtown Center through some kind of rental agreement. We said, what would that entail? They said, we need to build locker rooms associated with it. When we said, fine, but you're responsible for your locker room costs, and you need to tell us how you intend to redo the field, they then said, we can write a grant. They asked for a grant and said, we can come forward with $2 million. That would allow us to rent the field, which is still available for Amherst soccer, Amherst youth sports, kids playing on sports fields after school. And there is practice time and there are game times that Damon will be using it for, yes, but that's not all the time, and it's not most of the time. And the tennis courts, Damon will play tennis there. However, the tennis courts will be open and available to the public. We also get a splash pad out of it. We also get amenities like a revised basketball court, and we get new walking trails and a pickleball court. So we're not building it for Damon. Damon is asking us to use it. And we rent space in the Northtown Center all the time. It's a public ice facility. But high schools and colleges use that facility through a rental agreement. We weren't building a musical fair theater. We were building a public theater. Consistently, you can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. We're no longer bonding or building that theater we're not using that funding. But if you want to believe in Echo Chamber that it was strictly for musical fair, that's because you're reading it as no competing musical professional acting in play or musical groups could use it. Doesn't mean that not-for-profit organizations similar to those who rent our Harlem Community Center facility couldn't use them. It was a public theater with musical fair as an operator, and musical fair offered us a third. Okay. So I answered the question. I thank you all. I'm going to motion to adjourn the board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.